Welcome back to Blueprint for Wealth, and with me today is my special guest, Jeff Conroy, the CEO of Embody. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Wayne. Happy to be here.
It's great to have you as a special guest on Blueprint for Wealth. Let me tell you first a little bit about Jeff and Embody. Embody is developing a collagen-based medical device for the repair of tendon and ligament industries, specifically Achilles tendons and rotator cuffs, which we know a lot of people who suffer from those tears. And originally the company was funded by DARPA, which is an agency of the federal government, but really it has succeeded wildly and is launching its new product, Tapestry, which has been cleared to repair these Achilles and rotator cuff injuries. But Jeff also serves as an independent director on a couple of other life sciences companies, and he is currently on the board of advisors at the Apex Center for Entrepreneurs at Virginia Tech. It's a great journey that you've been on. How did you start your career? I mean, I've seen, you've been a consultant for many years, but how did you get into the life sciences field in the first place?
Yeah, appreciate it. I started, I had always been interested in biology as a student. Although I graduated, studied business and graduated with a business degree, I always wanted to work at the intersection of science and business. And when I graduated from college, I took a job with Abbott Laboratories and took a sales job, learned all about immunology and infectious disease and hepatitis and HIV, and really cemented for me the excitement of how do these businesses run when you're solving medical, technological, product development challenges in the business of life science.
So we are going to focus on a few things today. One of the things we're going to ask Jeff to tell us about is how he got to be a CEO in a life sciences company, because it hasn't been a singular journey. It's been a long journey. He's been a consultant. He moved up through the ranks in different companies. And then after he tells us what the key steps are, we are going to probe into the life of the CEO today in a life sciences company. And lastly, we're going to look for Jeff to give us some advice for the aspiring CEOs who are listening to this broadcast. Today, you're at Embody. Tell us a little bit about the products that you're creating at Embody that are so exciting.
Sure. So Embody has developed molecular level additive manufacturing technology. That means we've learned how to take molecules of collagen and structure them into these implants that mimic the native microarchitecture of your own tendon tissue. And in fact, your own cells migrate to our implants and grow new tendon tissue. We were very fortunate to develop a relationship with DARPA and have access to have funded the company with DARPA. And now near 20 million of non-dilutive funds between DARPA and the Air Force and the U.S. Army, really based on the needs of war fighters and across DOD, pervasive sports medicine injuries and challenges to readiness. So our products today are being used in about 10 different soft tissue augmentation repairs. We will launch in the first quarter of 2022 a major arthroscopic instrumented rotator cuff repair solution. It's a $1 billion market for us, and we think there's a big opportunity to build, a 50, 60, $100 million business here at Embody over the coming years. And then we've also taken this understanding of working with the collagen molecule and been able to develop now collagen-based sutures. So sutures that are pro-healing. They're load-bearing and can help you heal, but then once you get through the healing cascade, tissue grows in and the suture starts to be resorbed and new tissue is formed. So it's really about using the power of biology to accelerate healing, to minimize inflammation, to minimize scarring, and I think mobility is a challenge that we all face as we age, whether you're in sports young or later years. And so preserving mobility is really the mission of the company.
Do the techniques that you're using, these products, are they actually medical devices, or are they inserted via surgery, or is it both?
Yeah, it's both. So these are surgical implants. So it's classified. They're class 2 medical devices according to the FDA. We have to go through proper development paths, and the FDA clears these products through the 510K clearance process. And then surgeons would develop specific procedures, whether it's Achilles or rotator cuff or hamstring. There are some very simple procedures to insert and affix these implants so that the patients can benefit.
That's really cool. How did you get on the path towards getting into this company? What was the, you started at Abbott.
Yeah.
How did you get into the consulting world, and then how did you evolve ultimately to become a CEO of a startup that is rocket ship?
I actually appreciate the characterization. We're an aspiring rocket ship. I hope I can describe it as a rocket ship someday. It's interesting. I think that whatever path, we're each on our own path, and the more wisdom we gain over our lives, the more we understand that we're competing with ourselves, and we're in these positions because of a series of experiences we had previously. My first experience as an entrepreneur was starting a t-shirt company in college and learning the excitement of coming up with a product and generating sales and making deposits at the bank. My interest in biology, as you said, led me to Abbott. I ended up in a number of consecutively smaller companies. One was acquired by Thermoelectron. I learned how to buy companies, and as a part of integrating acquisitions in a large corporation. And I had said to my wife one day, after traveling hundreds of thousands of miles one year, I said, I thought I could probably replace my income if I had done half or a third of the deals that I did. And so it led me to start my own consulting company. And I very much think, we're all the CEO of our own business. That's the old Tom Peters book. I think that for me, it really came down to I thrived in smaller and smaller environments, and I really got a big charge out of the fact that one person can change a business. I think back to my time at Abbott, and I reflect on a massively successful company. Everyone should work at one world-class company, and my network there served me well. But at the same time, I look back and think, this is designed so one person can't screw it up. And so the smaller, as you move into smaller companies, and one of the tenets of our culture is every person we add has to have the ability to change the company significantly. And so that just jazzed me. And even before I was a CEO, just being a part of some teams like this, throughout my consulting as a licensing and business consultant in the life sciences, I had the occasion to do a turnaround of a small tissue bank, and I got to learn about how cadaver tissue was used in surgical repair, what some of the limitations of those products were. They stimulate scar tissue formation, or they don't resorb into native tissue. And there had been very little innovation, and I thought to myself, I wanted to do a company that would develop technology that would enable us to build products that stimulated healing in soft tissue, and started working on relationships, finding scientists who could be a part of the vision, and then having been in Washington for 25 years, looking to DOD and DARPA for ways that we might benefit from the alignment of interests. Okay, DARPA is an organization. DOD is an organization dependent on operational readiness, and so we ended up finding out that mobility was the number one challenge in sports medicine injuries, rotator cuff, Achilles, ACL. Biggest challenge, not only across special operations, Navy SEALs, Green Berets, but the folks moving supplies and logistics, same injuries. And so
heavy lifting.
I found a problem I fell in love with. If you think about,
so was this an idea that you basically created?
It was. It was an idea that I listened to. Okay, so it was an idea that I had the occasion to meet with surgeons over the course of a couple years who talked about limitations of products currently in the market without an ability to say what does the future look like? What's a better version? And a better version would be, not skin from the back of a cadaver being used to repair your Achilles or rotator cuff, but maybe a biologic substrate, a biologic material that might stimulate new tissue growth. And so we zeroed in on biomaterials, we zeroed in on collagen, and decided to build a company that would demonstrate excellence at working with collagen at the molecular level and engineering structures. And fundamentally, that's what DARPA funded. DARPA funded, we're developing additive manufacturing methods that used collagen molecules, and the things that we made from those manufacturing processes are Tapestry and microbraid. There are products that are surgical implants. And so
are these patented products?
We have, actually we just yesterday received notice of our 7th patent in the last 10 months.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We have about 28 more in process. And, this is, everyone's business has an algebra equation. And so, big market need, interesting, complete solution that can be paid for, IP protected, able to demonstrate clinical evidence. These are all the things that we're trying to validate now.
And the beauty of this DARPA funding is that it allows you to utilize the technology commercially without restriction, correct?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And particularly with the vehicles that we used, the contract vehicles that we used, we have great latitude. DARPA's incentive was they wanted our product available for DoD participants. We've actually, through our first 200 patients this year, we do have both active military and VA patients who've been involved, who've received Tapestry.
And what are the results? Everybody's very pleased with the results?
Results are great. Surgeons are pleased. Patients are pleased. The most excitement, some of our first surgeries were in total shoulder arthroplasty, so shoulder replacement, and using Tapestry to reinforce the subscapularis tendon, because shoulders don't fail because metal fails. Shoulders fail because soft tissue fails.
Right.
And then, in fact, not only do they fail 5 or 6% of the time, but 50% of the time, patients report that they don't get their full range of motion back, or they don't feel mobility. So now we have our first data in the first 3 or 4 patients. In 6 months, our implant is gone. An independent musculoskeletal radiologist can't tell that there was an injury or that there's any tendinosis, and all we have is thickened new tendon tissue. Wow. And so we're very, very excited. We get calls from the surgeons who we're working with 2 minutes after they get this data to say this is better than we expected. Now, with anything in clinical practice, the real challenge for us is now to develop long-term clinical evidence over the next couple of years. We're launching a patient registry in January for subscap, and then we'll launch a patient registry in March for rotator cuff. Mm-hmm. And this is going to allow us to tell the story over the next 2 years of how and why and where patients are benefiting, and ultimately, can we reduce long-term re-tear rates in sports medicine? That's really what we're trying to do.
Is there a competitor to you in this field in terms of what you're doing?
There are a range of competitors using different materials and different structures. I think we've tried to carve ourselves out in a little bit of a unique position because we've come up with an implant that has a structural advantage, meaning the copolymer approach that we've taken and the physical structure to mimic the microarchitecture of your native tendon sets us apart. We've also innovated in the delivery and fixation. So on our arthroscopic instrumentation, we've tried to make it easier to deliver an implant and faster to deliver the implant. And everything in healthcare also comes down to economics. We've got to come up with the right solution for patients and surgeons, and we've got to be competitive, particularly post-COVID, shifts in volume of surgeries to ambulatory surgery centers, outpatient centers. So, we're really seeking to differentiate ourselves from competitors with speed, with outcomes, and with economics.
What's it like being a CEO in life sciences today?
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I think that anyone who chooses to do this initially probably does it because they have great confidence in themselves, or they think that they're going to be able to will things to happen. I think those are at least personally speaking formative signs of naivete and optimism. Right? We bundle it all together and we go, we're going to do it.
And entrepreneurship.
And entrepreneurship. And I think in healthcare, there are plenty of people who generate massive economic success in healthcare, but no one goes into healthcare as the shortest path to make money. This is about how do we do something that's not been done before? How do we bring a benefit to patients who will be better off as a result of the thing that we've created? And as a result, can we make a case that our product or our solution or our repair is scalable enough and pervasive enough that it becomes a standard? In those instances, you have avenues to public markets, you have avenues to partnerships or acquisition. Right. And so, that was one of the interesting developments for me as someone who's become a CEO and now 7 years into this adventure. What I can tell you is that it's all about the team. This is 100% about the group of people that you choose to be next to you and with you and contribute. And also, we have a few things we talk about. One is that team. Before we had patents, before we had a product, before we had investors, all we had is a team. Now, as we have gone, and this year we've gone from 17 to 38. I believe we just made our offer to a 39th team member. You have to remember, in a company this size, your culture changes with every hire, and you get the culture you deserve. So if you're not communicating your values and living your values and learning how to work together and setting expectations, things can go sideways very quickly.
Sure.
So for me,
what's the one bit of advice that you would give to an aspiring CEO today before we wind up?
I would say it's people first. It's not about you. It's about them. I would also say that if I could do anything different, it would be I would make decisions faster with less information. We're all constantly seeking 80, 90, 95% of information to make decisions. 60, 65% make more decisions. You may make you may make a few bad decisions, but you'll make more decisions and you'll act. Take risks, embrace uncertainty, and this is not about intelligence. Everybody in this business is smart. There is no shortage of smart people. It's the folks who deal with uncertainty, the folks who have the grit and determination. And then the last one is just communicator. My job is I'm a communicator, and it's really about constituencies that we deal with, not just our team, not just our customers, our surgeons, our shareholders. And so you are the master of the message. And if you build the right team, you become the execution, you become known for execution. And that's really what we've tried to do.
Well, congratulations on your recent successes at Embody, and I wish you all the luck in the world going forward.
Wayne, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate it, and thanks for including me today.
And thanks to Jeff Conroy for being our special guest on Blueprint for Wealth. Stay tuned next time for another special topic and special guest. Have a great week.